Hello and welcome to Rock and Roll on Action, where we take a random year and we look at one film and one album from that year. My name's JJ, I'm a filmmaker who loves music.
My name's Sean, and I make music and I love films. Did I do that right?
That's close enough, I reckon. I reckon we've padded time enough for the intro. We find ourselves in the aftermath of the JFK assassination. There are political assassinations left, right, and center. We've got the conflict in Vietnam escalating through the roof. We've got the Tokyo Olympics as a bit of a relief, but that's in between the civil rights fight. The Civil Rights Act finally went through in America in this year, and Martin Luther King did win the Nobel Peace Prize, but racism was abound, as it remains. That's right, folks, we find ourselves in 1964, just 2 years after our previous year, 1962, which is a weird little coincidence and slightly frustrating, because if I could have chosen anything for today, then I would have chosen Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, which released in 1964, and Bob Dylan's Either Another Side or The Time Sarah Changed It. Last week, we did Stanley Kubrick and Bob Dylan, so we can't do it again.
Yeah, maybe we should just have done it.
Maybe we should have. Instead, we find ourselves looking at some little indie kids you may not have heard of. What are they called?
The Beatles. The Beatles were this crazy big band back in the day.
Yeah, never heard of them.
Yeah, they were huge though. You don't understand.
I don't understand.
They were a thing.
Wow,
you know?
A thing. That's crazy. Well, we must be looking at them as the album then, right?
Oh no, because they did films.
That's crazy.
And did I choose this film? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did.
So you chose the album.
I did.
So I thought, well, we're gonna have to do a Hard Day's Night somewhere or other. So
we're doing it as a movie, not an album. So Hard Day's Night is our film, and our album this week is Sam Cooke's brilliant final album, Ain't That Good News.
And ain't that good album?
Ain't that a good bloody album? That's spoilers. They need to know. We might hate it.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe it's bad.
Yeah.
But without further ado, should we jump into the film?
Let's do it. If you don't know, the Beatles did several films in the 60s, as did a lot of pop stars back in the day. You know, you'd just write a whole film round the pop star singing some songs. I think Elvis might have been the first one.
Yeah.
Really. So it was just a common thing. The Beatles were really big, and
I suppose it's the equivalent of having an Instagram page. It's like a way of
showing
pushing the
people.
Personality.
Yeah, I suppose. This was their first one. This right at the height of their success. They just got big in America that year.
But this is the same year that they released their first American album, right? Introducing the Beatles only came out at the start
January,
of 64,
maybe.
Yeah. Beatlemania was an instant phenomenon.
Yeah, so you can imagine the film producers being very like, yeah, we'd like to make a movie with you, you know. George Lucas, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was...
I think he might have been busy.
He was busy.
Although, got a little link there, if you you want to save that for later, or you want me to give you a little link there now?
What do you mean? Star Wars?
Yeah. You ever heard of it?
No.
This has the same cinematographer as Star Wars, Gilbert Taylor.
Oh.
He did Star Wars. He also did The Omen with Richard Donner, and this was directed by Richard Lester. Richard Donner and Richard Lester both directed Superman 2.
Which also has John Lennon in. No. But Superman 3 does have Roll Over Beethoven in at the dance. I remember that.
There you go.
That's not interesting, though.
Maybe it is.
I don't know. Maybe it is.
Tell us in the comments.
Yeah. And leave a like while you're down there as well, you know. So tell us about the film. I don't know. So it's got a plot, you know.
It has got a plot.
It was written by a guy.
It's got a loose plot.
Yeah. It was written by this fella called something, Alan Owen or something.
Alan Owen.
I believe he was like a Welsh fella, and he'd written films before, which is good.
Nah, he mostly did a load of TV stuff.
He'd done like Northern stuff or something.
Yeah, a lot of the people in this are the sorts of people that you find as guest stars on TV shows.
Oh, yeah.
And little sitcoms, and obviously Wilfred Bramble, who plays Paul's granddad in this, is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
He's just hilarious from top to bottom, and he's Steptoe and Steptoe Son. And in Steptoe and Son, the catchphrase is, "You dirty old man."
Yeah.
And in this, he's very clean.
Yeah,
he's
supposedly clean. The film is supposed to be like a day or so in the life of the band. It's supposed to be kind of like a documentary, but obviously not.
Yeah.
I guess in kind
Very
of
heightened.
Is the Monkees like that? The show? I don't know if
Yeah,
you've
it's a
seen
little
it.
Monkees-ish. It's not as far from the Ruttles as you'd expect it to be, honestly.
Right.
You know,
I mean, it starts off with them being chased by like thousands of girls.
then as soon as they get on the train, no one knows who they are.
Yeah.
It's so iconic, that opening. And it doesn't waste any time. You're just straight in. The first thing you hear is that opening chord from the start of Hard Day's Night.
Yeah.
And it's straight in on just them being chased down the street. And it's the scenes that I think, certainly if you've clicked on this video, then you've definitely seen, like everyone's seen those shots, right?
And then what happens? So they get on this train, you see, and there's this old fella, weird guy.
Who is that old guy?
Nice guy.
Yeah, nice guy.
Doesn't say much. Turns out he's Paul's grandfather.
Yeah.
And he's not Paul's grandfather.
No, he's not.
Not
he's
really.
Wilfred Bramble.
He's Wilfred Bramble, actor extraordinaire.
Yeah. And he and Ringo have all of the best lines in the film.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's very funny. Like, that's the thing. I actually hadn't seen this.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to every Beatles album many, many times, and I've watched documentaries and read books and all of that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I just never watched any of the films, apart from Let It Be, which doesn't really count because it's a documentary.
Oh, that's the worst one.
Yeah. And I think that you might just expect it to be sort of a little stiff or really feel just like a promo kind of thing. And there are moments where it does. All of the musical numbers, it basically just stops the film for a music video, Like, they're not really linked in. And if the film itself weren't as fun as it is, then I think that would be really annoying. And, of course, if the songs weren't just as phenomenally good as they are. But it is funny. Like, it's got that very light on its feet, fast British sitcom energy. It's got moments of Python-esque silliness, and it's
goonness, you could say.
Yeah, and it's.
I think they were. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, Richard Lester had done some work with some of the goons. He'd done like a short film with some of them, and I think that's part of the reason he got the job.
Yeah.
Doing this film because they love the goons.
Right. Well, because Peter Sellers does that cover of A Hard Day's Night where it's all spoken word.
That was for a documentary about people who covered Lennon and McCartney songs, where they host it and they have a bunch of guests like doing covers of their songs.
Oh, there you go.
It's pretty good, and that's brilliant. That Peter Sellers, he's like dressed as Henry VIII, and there's like a harpsichord playing, and he just like does a monologue of the lyrics to A Hard Day's Night. It's absolutely brilliant.
It is good. He's much better suited to that than Lolita.
Yeah, and if you want to hear more about Lolita, you got to check out our last episode. But that's beside the point.
Subtle plug of it.
Don't click on that until you've watched this one, though. So we're getting into ruthless businessmen, Moby Divis, So
the film does not have much of a plot. It's basically a series of sketches that are loosely held together by the idea that this is a day in the life, and each Beatle kind of gets up to a little bit of mischief. Ringo gets sad and wanders off and has a little chat with a little boy and then gets arrested.
That sounds so dodgy, the way you said that.
That's what happens, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. He doesn't get. Oh, he does get arrested, doesn't he?
He does get arrested. Yeah. It's very unclear what for.
For being northern.
He does. He basically gets arrested for being northern.
Yeah.
And George ends up, for some reason, in some fashion office where they're trying to tailor fashion to the newest teen trends.
Clearly just written because they thought we don't have enough George in this film. We need to just
George
write
is just not in the rest of the film.
He doesn't. He just says like a one-liner every now and again. You have to keep in mind the audience they're going for, and I didn't always notice that when I was young. I've seen this film many times since when I was young, but when I started watching it when I was a teenager, I thought you can imagine the audience full of screaming girls watching this. Like there's bits where near the beginning where Paul lifts the newspaper and you see his face for the first time. You can imagine everyone screaming, and that's what this film is for. It's just to see them say stuff and them do stuff. So throw in a scene of nonsense of George walking in on some fashion people and have a scene of John in the corridor talking to this woman who doesn't know if she recognizes him or not. Like it's not relevant at all to anything.
No. But I think it's funny that the Beatles as an entity are kind of treated as a single thing. I thought that John and Paul would be much bigger as like individual focuses and characters kind of thing. I mean, it's really Ringo who's the only one who gets anything close to an arc.
He was probably the best actor.
He is the best actor.
I think the others are.
He has all the best lines are either Ringo's lines or lines about Ringo.
Yeah, exactly.
When he's deciding whether or not he should go in a train cab with a girl who fancies him, he's like, "Oh, I know the psychological pattern it plays havoc with my drum skins."
Yeah.
Just weird phrasing.
These are things that when I was a kid, had no idea what they were talking about, you know. I was like, there must be some sort of joke that I'm missing here. But you get old and you're just like, oh, it's just funny. That's most of the film. It's just, wouldn't it be funny if we put this sentence here? You know?
But that's like a carry-on film or something.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
Speaking of which, the fellow who plays Norm, I guess he's playing their manager.
Yeah.
Which is a bit weird because everyone knew Brian Epstein, but it's Norm in this for some reason.
Norm.
He looks scarily like Alan Klein. When he first came on screen, I was like, is that Alan Klein? What the hell? But he was in a load of carry-on films and stuff. I was like, I recognize him from somewhere, but yeah. Alan Klein ended up obviously being instrumental in the destruction of the Beatles after Brian Epstein's death. And they took him on as manager. And he is just a relentless, evil businessman.
And he will come into conversation with the album as well.
He will. But I mean, throughout, there's just all these little... it's just a series of moments and scenes and stuff. Like, they have the bit where they go out clubbing and go for a little dance, and that's clearly just so they can play a few Beatles songs.
Yeah.
You know?
This is the problem I have with all musicals, is that you're like... why are they singing? How do they all know the song? Like, you know, how's this work?
Yeah, it's not a film that prides itself on making sense, though.
But musicals don't make sense anyway, so I think they should all be like that. When they're running around in the field and Can't Buy Me Love's playing, it's not like they're stopping to do a dance routine of Can't Buy Me Love. Yeah. They're just messing around in a field, and the music is playing.
Because I kind of completely forgot that it was a musical, because there's so much stuff at the start, you know, after the opening number, which is, again, just plays like an opening track over action anyway, so it doesn't feel musically. And then there's a really long extended sequence on the train where it's just really funny, and there's just like a normal sitcom. And Patty Boyd is there.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fun. They start playing I Should Have Known Better, and I was just like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is quite sudden. It just happens out of nowhere.
It really does.
They're suddenly holding instruments.
Yeah, they sit down to play cards, and then all of a sudden everyone's around them and watching them play.
Yeah, it's it's a complete fantasy. It doesn't make any sense, but to me, that's how it should be.
Although I do think that the sort of episodic nature of it does make it feel a little longer than it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's only 87 minutes, but I paused it halfway through and I was like, oh God, I'm only halfway through. And I was enjoying it, but I was like, wow, that's okay. But I did think it was interesting that, again, at the end, when they play She Loves You and stuff like that, and it's like, you could have played some new stuff. But it's fine. Yeah. It's all good stuff.
It's true.
You know?
It ends on She Loves You. Yeah. And then briefly, and then just plays A Hard Day's Night again in the end credits, doesn't it?
There are some lovely instrumental versions of the songs, though. There's a nice sort of jazzy Hard Day's Night. Yeah,
that's George Martin. Yeah. He did all the arrangements for those.
Yeah, because he was nominated for an Oscar for it, and they weren't.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Were they ever nominated for Oscars? I don't think so.
Probably not.
For music.
It would have only been this.
They got some Grammys.
This was by far their most successful film, right?
I don't actually know. Surely Help would have been just as successful.
Well, this has stood the test of time a lot more.
Yeah, you haven't seen Help? No. It's very different. Yeah. It's very much a spoof of James Bond.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Maybe it isn't. Some elements of it are a spoof of James Bond. It's like an adventure film with...
Are they big Bond fans? Because the casino that they find John McCartney in this Grandad has got the same name as the casino in Dr. No.
Oh, does it? Yeah. I don't know. To be honest, I don't think they had any input in the script at all.
Paul definitely sounds like he's just reciting lines.
Yeah, he's definitely the worst actor out of all of them. Which is funny because he wrote and starred in a film called Give My Regards to Broad Street in the 80s. Oh, yeah. That's I haven't seen, but supposedly it's absolutely awful.
Whereas Ringo actually did pretty good. Have you seen That'll Be the Day?
No.
He's really good in that. That's a much darker film than you'd expect. It's about a young lad who's from a family with little money, and well, in the first film, he sings and plays in a couple of bands and plays in one with Ringo, but mostly it's just him going around womanizing and being a dodgy bloke, and spends a bit of time working in a fairground and stuff like that. And then in Stardust, for part 2, which I actually haven't seen yet, becomes a big pop star, I think. But Ringo plays his mate in that and works at the fairground with him. And he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
I really want to see The Magic Christian as well. Cause I've not seen
it. Have you seen Candy?
No.
Don't. It's like one of them hippie films.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just this woman called Candy who just has sex with loads of guys.
Oh, yeah. She's got to have it.
Yeah, but it's almost like most of them are forcing it on her. Oh. So I don't think it's that, feminist.
Oh, God.
And Ringo's one of them. He's like this Mexican gardener. He does this horrible Mexican accent.
Oh man!
And then he like has sex with her on the counter in the kitchen. Yeah, don't watch that film.
Wow, the 60s.
Yeah, and it ends with Richard Burton having sex with her, I think.
Oh.
Or maybe, no, he's at the beginning, and then it's Marlon Brando, I think, at the end.
What?
Like, there's a lot of
What
people
the hell
in
is this? How did they get this cast?
I know, yeah.
Jeez, maybe we should do Candy. What year
Yeah,
is it?
68, I think, or 69.
Yeah,
I don't
nothing
know.
else good came out that year.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, back to a hard day's night rather than a hard Ringo's plight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not think that this would work as well if the songs weren't iconic Beatles songs.
We've got some great ones. Let's name them. A Hard Day's Night. We got Can't Buy Me Love. And for the viewers, man, don't laugh. And I Love Her. You know, you've heard of it.
Why is things we said today not in the
Well, I can
film?
explain. I think they started filming it when they hadn't done the album. They were still recording and writing while they were filming it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I
they
think
wrote Hard Day's Night while they were...
Yeah, so genuinely, I think the songs that are in the film and are on side A of the album are just the ones that they'd done. So they had to pad out the rest of the album. So they just wrote some more while they were filming or after they filmed it or whatever. Same with Beatles for Sale. I think they were just had to like write whenever they could on their tour, you know? And then as soon as they finished their tour, they had to go in the studio and record it all. They were so busy.
Yeah. And you get some of that energy come through in not just the music,
Yeah.
but I think in the film as well.
Well, you can tell by the next album, Beatles for Sale, that they are tired. You can tell that. But this album, they've still got all their energy. I think they're still on the high of world fame.
Yeah.
And they're loving it.
They seem to be having fun.
Yeah.
But it's still got that sort of rough and ready kind of thing, you know, like when they're playing in the train cart and George's guitar catches the light and it's just covered in fingerprints and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like you wouldn't get that now.
I've heard people say that this film is sort of an influence for sort of later verite sort of style films, which I don't know if that's true. Maybe they're just bigging it up. Richard Lester's bigging it up, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't feel that verity. I mean, like it's rough and ready, it's fast and stuff, but it still feels composed and
it's more in certain scenes, I think.
Yeah,
like Can't Buy Me Love, maybe, or
the scenes
with a handheld camera
in the car and stuff like that, and the girls are bashing on the window. Like that, none of that stuff is just real documentary footage, is it? It kind of has that vibe to it sometimes.
I feel like there might be one shot somewhere near the beginning that is, but I mean, all that they would have had to do is just drive out somewhere with the cameras and get real footage anyway.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I think because so much of this film is very exaggerated, it's very easy to assume that all of that stuff is too. But that is the reality of what it was like. You know, that Beatlemania was mania.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't think that anyone really realized maybe until this film came out quite the extent of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was United Artists. They just wanted the rights for the soundtrack. They just knew that they were going to sell a shit ton of soundtrack albums. And so they made a cheap film and it ended up doing 8 times its budget. I think they made it for $500K and it made $4 million.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was like one of the most profitable films of all time.
Oh, right.
And it stayed that way for ages.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still very few films to make 8 times their budget. And they were expecting to make a loss. You know?
Yeah, right.
They just didn't care.
That's mad. I wouldn't have expected them to think they were going to make a loss.
Yeah.
It's the Beatles. Come on.
Oh, yeah. But they hadn't been the Beatles for very long.
They probably thought it's just going to be such a flash in the pan that by the time we actually manage to get the film out, no one will care anymore.
Yeah, because this is pushed out quick. They shot this in March and it was out by August.
I'm certain they thought it was going to be over by the end of the year, you know. Yeah. I think by the next film, Help, you can tell that they're already getting a bit fed up with it. I mean, they were smoking a lot of weed as well at that point, and
to see if Mr. Bobby D.
Yeah, and supposedly they were stoned in every scene. I don't think it's obvious. There's a bit where they have to run away, and they just ran really far and just lit up a joint and then came back. You know,
that's great. This one definitely still feels quite innocent and cheeky, happy kind of thing.
I think Help does as well. I don't think you can tell that they're baked out of their heads the whole time. Okay. I mean, it's more the dubbing. There's bits. There's no weird dubbing really in this film. But in Help, there's like bits where they just went into a booth and they were like, dub your voices, and they just weren't even trying to match it up. So there's bits where they're like, you know, like really comedic.
That's good.
You know.
Okay. Going back briefly to that George
Michael
fashion scene.
Oh yeah. That's the thing that we should mention, that apparently this was the first use of the word grotty, Oh, you were going to say that.
Yeah, that's fine. You say
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Because I watched it and I was like, oh, wow, that's what grotty means. It means grotesque. And then I looked up and it was like, yeah, no one had ever used that word before.
Yeah.
It was just Alan Owen, the screenwriter, said, oh, yeah, this is a thing they say in Liverpool. And the Beatles were like, is it?
Yeah, they'd never heard
I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
Which is, it's good. I think it's just him trying to make up a youth slang, you know.
Absolutely.
And it works. I mean, we still say grotty today, you know.
Yeah.
It's good.
You could argue that the writing is sort of, how do you do, fellow kids? You know, like he's just writing, pretending that he's like, he knows the lingo, but he's just making
that was still hanging over from the 50s. And, you know, all the 35-year-old singers talking about finishing their homework and taking the girl back from school, you know. Yeah.
But it could have gone really badly, is what I'm trying to say. But somehow it works, and kudos to him.
I think with how fast things move now with the internet, it probably wouldn't, you know.
Absolutely.
But then I think maybe the youth culture was moving slow enough that you could write something.
I mean, I've not
release it 6 months later and it wouldn't be old.
I've not seen that Spice Girls movie, so I don't know how that was. I can't imagine a young person wrote it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe.
So maybe we'll do that when we get to...
We won't.
We will.
Yeah, what would you rate this out of 10?
It's hard for me.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just a favourite of mine.
Yeah. But is it as a film, or is it just because you love the music so much and the vibe of the thing?
It's a comfort watch, you know, in the same way that I could throw on Star Wars. You know, it's just a film that I could watch for just to pass the time.
But I would argue that Star Wars is a perfect film on top of that.
So is A Hard Day's Night.
I think it's the best that you could do this.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd give it a 7.4.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you'd give him more.
I'm trying to be objective. For me, it's, I don't know, it's one of my favourites. Yeah. It's a 10.
Well, there you go.
Well, there we go. So average it out, whatever that is.
I mean, I think I'd give it like a 7+.
7+.
7+. I was mighty impressed with it, gotta say. It's a really fun script.
Yeah.
And it's so not the way that people talk, and it feels natural and fun flowing out of their mouths.
Yeah.
And speaking of naturally flowing out of mouths...
We're keeping that in, by the way. We're on to Sam Cooke, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so who the hell is
Samuel Cooke? Who is he?
Dunno, did you look him up?
Yeah, born something.
He was born by the river.
Oh yeah, yeah. Died something. 64. Did he die 64? Yeah.
He did. Sam was born in Mississippi under a regime of extreme racism, police brutality, violence. There were night riders who'd come out and they'd just lynch and kill black people. When he was very young, there was Emmett Till's murder. Emmett Till was only 14 years old. He was beaten up and killed for no reason at all other than the colour of his skin. And this was kind of the world in which Sam grew up, and in that was part of the church, and he would sing gospel. When he was 19 years old, very young, he joined the Soul Stirrers, who were a well-established gospel group. They'd been around since, well, actually, it's their 100-year anniversary. They'd been around since 1926, so congrats to the Soul Stirrers.
They must be old.
They're not together anymore.
They're not friends.
They hung around till around the sort of mid-80s, I think, in various different incarnations. And when Sam was singing with them, it was the only sort of taste of mainstream, I think, that they had. But he took over from Paul Foster as the lead vocalist when he was only a teenager, and everyone else in the band was older and had way more experience, but he was just that damn good. Yeah. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for Sam. He wanted to cover multiple genres and, you know, soul and rock and roll, and was all starting to emerge. And so Sam ended up leaving the church and got into popular music.
Horrible. It was a big mistake, in my opinion. I liked Sam Cooke's before he did popular music, you know.
Yeah, you just like the gospel stuff?
I like the gospel stuff, yeah.
He started out, and even with Ain't That Good News, he was still adapting gospel songs and marketing them for a secular sort of audience, right? His first...
Yeah. Wait, Ain't That Good News? Yeah. I was thinking it was just changing the lyrics to I Got a Woman, but I Got a Woman is changing the lyrics to something else, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Ain't That Good News is a gospel song. It's the good news of the Lord, and he makes it a love song.
So is I Got a Woman just changing the words to Ain't That Good News? You know Ray Charles?
Yeah.
Maybe. I got a woman way over town. She's good to me. Oh, yeah. You know, it's the same chords. I just thought it was the Same.
Yeah, it probably is. This was the era of standards, you know. We were saying last week with 1962 that it was before the album as an art form, and this is to an extent as well. The album is more of a thing, but it's right on the cusp. It wasn't really until the Beatles came out with Revolver that the album itself, or, you know, and it was a few things that year. Yeah. And it's around the same time as Forever Changes and stuff like. So there was like loads of great albums that came out, and this is a great album. Yeah. But it doesn't feel quite.
It's a collection of songs.
And it's definitely an album in two halves.
Yes.
The first half of the album is all sort of fun party stuff, and the second half is a lot more thoughtful, ballads, slower, string-laden. So the first half of the album is Ain't That Good News, Meet Me at Mary's Place, which is great. Yeah. Good Times. Oh, let the good times roll. Yeah, that really feels like a classic sort of Motown track or something. Yeah. Like it feels a little ahead of some of these songs. Rome Wasn't Built in a Day. Yeah. Which I'm always like, oh, yeah. But then when it comes on, I'm like, oh, yeah. And then it gets to the chorus, I'm like, oh.
To me, that's like one of them classic, like, Motown songs where you kind of think they just had a title. Like, I'm going to write a song with this. And, you know, a lot of these albums, I kind of go into them thinking it's going to be filler, but it might be good filler. Yeah. Like, this sort of era of music. I think with this album, none of it really feels like filler. Even though it probably is. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is just another attempt to doing this type of song. Or I mean, they're all his songs. Maybe the first half is all his songs, isn't it? And Tennessee Waltz is a cover. And that's the funny thing. Tennessee Waltz was a waltz by Patti Page, I think. And he's just it's not a waltz anymore. It's still called Tennessee Waltz.
Yeah, but they're singing about the Tennessee Waltz. It's like the Monster Mash.
Yeah, it is. It's like, or that song Tribute, Tenacious D, I guess. Exactly. It's kind of meta.
It is. So yeah, Rome Wasn't Built in a Day, and then Another Saturday Night, which is a towering, just
Inferno
icon. That's a great track. I always think of the Cat Stevens cover because that was the version I heard first. And
yeah, there's a few songs of Sam Cooke's that I heard covers first. Let the Good Times Roll. I think I heard the Stones version of that first.
Yeah, well, I think that's because of his style of writing. So much of what he writes sounds like a standard.
Yeah.
So many of his songs don't really feel like they were written. They just kind of feel like they came into existence and had always existed in the same way as... like
sandwiches have always existed.
Exactly, yeah. Well, then you have Tennessee Waltz, which is a great song, but I always kind of forget that it's there because when a change is going to come, which is actually because the album changes at that point as well.
Yeah.
I know that it's probably just because it was the first track of side one, but when you listen to it on CD or on streaming or whatever, then the way that song just cuts through the album like a knife, like everything suddenly seems insignificant. And it's just, listen to this, and it just cuts right through before he even starts singing. There's just something about the way the strings fall.
It's like Mantovani sort of strings. I don't know if you know that composer. Famously did strings that were like, I don't know how to explain it, but they're like falling like that. Yeah. So like one string is like echoing the last one. So it feels like an echo in real life. Yeah. And they're all falling together. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like they're trying to do that in that song, especially at the beginning, and it's really beautiful.
It really is. And then the way his vocal is just, there's nothing else where his vocal is quite like it is in that song. I just think it's incredible. And we'll come back around to talking about it more in depth because I think that's the iconic song from this album.
Yes.
But just to get through the rest of the track list, then we have the slow stuff. So we got Falling in Love, just nice cover. These are all covers.
I think so.
Even Sitting in the Sun, Counting My Money.
I think so.
Okay. Home, When Shadows Fall, which from that title I couldn't tell you what that is, even though I've listened to this album many, many times.
I don't remember it either.
So that's all you need to know. Sitting in the Sun, which is nice. There'll Be No Second Time, which I love. Really love that track. The fact that it's the penultimate song on the album just feels like such a graveyard position for such a good song.
Yeah.
And then the Riddle song is what it ends on, which, given that, just for context, this album was the first thing he'd recorded since the drowning of his son, who was only 18 months. He drowned in the pool. And I don't know if there's any relevance, but the final line that he leaves this album on is, a baby has no crying when a baby's sleeping.
I read a story, I don't know if it's apocryphal, that he started crying when he was recording that, singing that line. I just read that somewhere. I don't know if it's true. Could be one of those guys who just has to have a story. Yeah, he was crying. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the riddles in that are great.
So let's just jump into A Change Is Gonna Come. All right.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So he was actually inspired by Blowin' in the Wind by Bob Dylan, which is nice because we were talking about Bob last week. Apparently he said a black man should have written that song. You know, why is it that it's a white Jewish kid who's singing, you know, this anthem that's speaking to all of us kind of thing. And he does. Have you ever seen any of his live covers of Blowin' in the Wind? It's just incredible.
Great.
His voice is just, man. So he sat down with the express purpose of writing a black Blowin' in the Wind. And what he came out with was A Change Is Gonna Come. And it did then become the sort of anthem of the civil rights movement, and Barack Obama quoted it when he got elected into office. And the song carries, again, this sort of timeless, immortal feeling to it. It doesn't feel like it can have been written. It just feels like it's been translated straight from the soul, and just that's somehow materialized as music and words. But it sort of transcends that in a way. And like I said, the way it just cuts through the album, it almost makes everything else pale into insignificance. The first time I listened to the album in full was for this. I knew a few of the songs, but I'd never sat down and listened to the album. And for the first couple of listens, I just couldn't remember anything else. The song just leaves such a strong imprint. It's really hard to think of many songs that have the kind of power that one does.
It's almost like he shouldn't have bothered doing the rest of the songs. You know? just left it silent.
Well, the funny thing is, I don't think many people maybe bought the album because people always talk about that song coming out 2 months after he died. Because that's when the single came out. Because nowadays, the way that album campaigns work is that you release all of the singles, and then at the end of the singles campaign, you release the album, and then it's out, and it's kind of done.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, Another Saturday Night came out about a year before, or something like that. It's just a single that they then plonked on the album. But other than that, the album was the next thing to come out, along with the single Ain't That Good News. And the other singles following that came out after.
Yeah.
So most people hadn't heard A Change Is Gonna Come until after he was already dead. And it's kind of like that Bowie track Lazarus when he died, and then the first single to come out after his death is Look Up Here, I'm in Heaven. But this marks a real sort of turning point in his career. I think it's the blueprint for what would have been next, because he'd started hanging out with Malcolm X, who was assassinated the same year. He'd started hanging out with Muhammad Ali, who he was really, really close friends with. And the sort of politics of the day was more and more on his mind. He started his own little record label, SAR Records, S-A-R.
Yeah, that's German for yeah.
And the point was to promote young black artists that he believed in, a lot of people in the gospel circuit and stuff like that. I think that he was moving very much in a direction where he was going to be a lot more outspoken, because up to this point, we've said there are a few songs on here that feel kind of Motown-y, very soul-y, and he is known as a soul artist, but really if you look at his popular tunes from prior to this point, it was much more the sort of crooner thing. It was much more of a sort of Rat Pack kind of vibe, you know.
Well, I noticed something that kind of differentiates it from the latest stuff is that I think it's all double bass on this album. Motown was already, and all that more pop stuff was going past that and using electric bass already.
And I think that this has much more of a classical feel to it. You know, everyone listens to Motown stuff just in their day-to-day life now. I think even if you're someone who is a big fan of Dua Lipa, you probably like a load of Motown tracks as well. You know what I mean? Whereas this album, I think with the exception of maybe Another Saturday Night and A Change Is Gonna Come, it's hard to imagine that those sorts of people are going to sit down and like listen to this in their day-to-day life. They might appreciate it, they might enjoy it, but it's not got the sort of broad appeal maybe now that did, because it feels older, it feels more antiquated.
Yes. I think it's the audience they're trying to appeal to. I think they're trying to appeal to maybe a slightly older audience than maybe the Motown stuff. Yeah. They wanted him to be sanitized.
Yeah.
So the arrangements are by this fella, Rene Hall, who I don't think is really known for doing much else. He did do other stuff, but nothing particularly famous.
Which is a shame, because the string arrangements on this album are sublime.
Yes.
I could just sit in a pool of the sound of these strings.
I know. They're brilliant. They do remind me. I mean, they give off a similar vibe to sort of like the Ray Charles stuff that was happening earlier. You know,
a lot of it has almost a sort of a Disney lift to it as well.
Yeah,
it's kind of
chord. I remember thinking that exact thing. Yeah. There was one song where I thought, this feels like I'm at Disneyland, like I'm in a theme park. Like, I don't know, I can't explain it.
And there's still that kind of almost granular quality to the sound of it. Like, even though there's lots of strings, and so it's got this softness, there's a sort of a coarseness to the actual sound of the recording itself, and there's just this beautiful contrast. And I always love that about the sound of old Disney strings. That sort of soft, coarse combo.
We don't get that anymore. No one does this. I feel like we've lost the art of strings. String arrangements these days are so boring. You know, they're just like, you know, they're doing a chord or something. There's no sweeping. There's no.
Yeah, this album is lifted up by the strings.
Oh,
it's
really?
So integral to its sound. It's great.
Yeah.
And who actually produced this album?
Two Italian fellas called Hugo and Luigi.
Oh, right.
And this was before Luigi teamed up with Mario.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, before
just a little
plumbing days.
Just a little sarcasm. And I don't know what else they did, to be honest. I didn't bother to look it up, to be honest with you.
Well, they did a slap-up job on this album.
Yeah, I'm sure they did some great stuff.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments what else they did. Do want research for us?
We're tired. We're not going to look it up.
It's a very busy time at the moment, okay?
Help us out a bit here.
So... Yeah, no, it's interesting, right? Because I was listening on the way over here to the Live at the Harlem Club the year before this came out, but probably recorded around the same time as he would be recording this. I think he recorded this album in September of 63. Mm-hmm. And live, you see him on the TV, and he's got that kind of crooner, very smooth kind of
snappy finger.
Snappy finger, and it's all like that. And then you see him live, and you hear just how different his voice is when he's singing in a small kind of club venue like that. And it's a rowdy audience, and it's fun, and he just lets his voice crack and break, and it's raspy, and it just sounds incredible. And it makes even those sort of croonery, old school, big band style songs sound like the most vibrant, modern, exciting things, you know, and the range of his voice and where he could have gone if he'd embraced that. And I feel like he was starting to embrace that, and you start to hear it on A Change Is Gonna Come. And I feel like his next album after this, it could have been a lot more politically charged. Yeah. And you could have really just heard him let loose, because he's so unchained on that recording. It's so exciting. I'd love to hear that on a record, and through the sort of polish of the beautiful production that you get with this sort of thing.
With the things we don't get to experience of his, you know, it's the same with Otis Redding, you know, where he could have gone.
Yeah.
You know, probably nowhere. But we don't know that, you know? How can we know? Maybe it's the thrill, the mystique of not knowing what was going to happen next makes it better in a way. Maybe Sam Cooke would just go nowhere and just be rubbish for the rest of his career. You know, it's possible.
I don't know if it is possible. I don't know if it is. It's just so good.
Yeah.
You know, and this really makes me want to go back and listen to all of the albums as albums sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because Sam Cooke is definitely one of those I've only ever listened to songs.
Yeah,
know?
Me too.
And I've really enjoyed getting to know this album. Because again, like I said, you know, first couple of times I listened to it was just all about Change Is Gonna Come, and I already loved Another Saturday Night, mostly because of the Cat Stevens version, but I've just grown to appreciate it more, and just like those songs, they're just stuck in there now. And it's the fact that he was shot this same year is just devastating. And for what? Do you think it was the FBI? I do find it interesting, actually, listening to this, how much of the imagery from this album is used in all of the descriptions of what happened, right? Because this isn't a true crime podcast or anything, but like all of the stories of what it was like he was waving his money around, he just got paid, and then he wanted a girl for the night, and it's like, well, that's Another Saturday Night, you know, I just got paid, I want some chick to talk to, and he talks, you know, on the album, there's the song Sitting in the Sun, counting my money. It's like so much of just these little phrases and images that are painted on this album are then very intrinsically part of the story of the night he died.
So do you think they're clues?
I don't know. No.
Left behind. He knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But he can't stop it, but he's leaving clues to warn us.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting. LAPD never investigated it properly.
The thing that bothers me, I mean, I don't know the guy, but I watched this Netflix documentary, right? The 2 killings of Sam Cooke.
Yeah.
And they have people who knew Sam talking about him, and they were all saying, this doesn't sound like him. The way he was supposedly acting.
Yeah.
You know, threatening people, threatening women violently, and then he got shot by the owner of the motel, who was a woman.
Yeah, well, they talk about the $5,000 he had in his pocket and that his trousers were stolen. And like, was it because of that? Who knows? Like, I don't know. There's so many weird elements and so many unknowns. But that is a good documentary. Yeah.
So was he murdered intentionally? I don't know. I mean, I think the theory that it was the mob is probably not true, because
I don't think it's the mob, but just the timing of it just feels too perfect, right? Because, you know, of how powerful he was, the fact that he did have the ear of middle-class white America, and now he was hanging out with your Malcolm X's and your Muhammad Ali's, and he was
else got
starting
murdered?
to write songs. That, you know,
there is a history of outspoken people being murdered, especially in that time period. So
isn't there?
I don't know. I wasn't there, but I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. I mean, this is a year after Medgar Evers was killed.
Yeah.
This is the same year as his trial was dismissed as a mistrial. This is the same year Malcolm X was assassinated, and like there was just so much going on. And J. Edgar Hoover was a big racist. We know that they were investigating Malcolm X. We know that they were looking at the people that he talked to and stuff like that. And it's just, I don't want this to be about his death, because I feel like so many people just talk about Sam Cooke with regards to his death, and his life was so much more vibrant and exciting.
And you know, that was a nice surprise when I watched the documentary, because it's called Killings. I thought it was just going to be about his death, and I was kind of like, I don't know if that's important, but it's not. It's mostly about his life. It's just a very short part at the end, which is about his death, really. I would recommend it.
Yeah, I would too.
It gets a thumbs up, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, Alan Klein, so he was Sam Cooke's manager.
He took over because RCA Victor were keeping a load of funds away from him, as they did with all black artists. Yeah. And Alan Klein got him all that money, got his trust, and then became his manager.
Alan Klein was very good at making people impressed by him at first, you know, showing like, look at all the money I can get you, and then just completely scamming them.
Alan Klein was very good at getting money.
He was.
He was getting it for himself.
From all sources he was getting money from.
Yeah.
So,
just a real bad bloke. Or did he kill Sam Cooke?
Yeah.
Because Sam found out that he'd secretly in the contract written in that his distribution company, was it? Tracy was Tracy Distribution? Whatever it was. And Alan Klein had written up the contract and basically just made himself the owner of the company, not Sam. But anyway, I think that about wraps up the album. Any final thoughts on A Hard Day's Night?
It's just that film. I think it's a very important film in some way. Can't tell you why.
No,
but seems important to me.
It's fine.
And so does the album. The album also seems important. I'm glad we've learned that. From doing this.
I'm quite glad that we did these two, because I absolutely would have loved to do Dr. Strangelove, and I'd probably go for Another Side of Bob Dylan, even though times they are changing.
We'll do it next time we get this year.
Yeah. We'll come back around to years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, thank you very much for watching. You want to follow us on the socials, do all the stuff, it's on the screen, blah de blah. I'm not going to waste your time. Subscribe, all that. Bye.
Bye. Nice to see you. Fade out here.